to do today is put the purlins on. The purlin is the member underneath the roofing material that the roofing material gets fixed into. So the purlin goes on top of the rafter and underneath the roofing material. So in this particular case we're using corrugated iron. So we'll put the purlins on top of the rafters, and then we'll put the building paper on, and then we'll put the corrugated iron on top of that. Right throughout this build, we're going to make sure that we put a separation layer between any timber and metal, because we're using steel framing. So we're going to put what's called a DPC, or a damp proof course, in between the two materials. So at the moment what we're doing is we're just we're using flashing tape as a damp proof course in between the rafter and the purlin. Okay, so we're fixing the purlins with a screw from Fortress. It's designed for drilling into metal. We've got to make sure that the screws are long enough to go through the wood and at least 3 threads past. And so what we've got here is the screw that has its own drill tip for cutting into the metal, its wing tips, and they actually cut the pilot hole in the timber and then break off just before it goes through the metal. And then there's a countersunk head, and it's got its own cutting grooves that countersink it into the timber for us. So the next thing is to make sure that you get your screw long enough to go at least 3 threads past what you're drilling into, so that it's so that's the metal there. We've got about 3 threads coming past. You need to take into account this extra bit of length when ordering your screw. So it's the material, 3 threads past, plus the cutting tips that you needed. So it's a self-drilling screw. It cuts its own countersink as well, and it's important to have a decent drill at the right speed and enough weight behind it. Really helps to punch it through. There needs to be pressure on it as it goes in. Pulls in nice and tight, does the job.